How would you model 2 divided by 0.3, and how does the model help you see the answer? So I've drawn a model, and you've got 0, 1, 2, and each of them has been broken up into thirds. So 1/3 isn't exactly 0.3, but it's very close. So we're going to use the thirds as our representation of 0.3. And you can see then, how would you model this? We can say, well, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 thirds make up 2. So 2 divided by 0.3 is approximately equal to 6. If you do it on your calculator, you'll find that 2 divided by 0.3 is actually equal to 6.66. It keeps going on forever, so 6.66666 or 6.667 rounding off. 124 divided by some number is about 300. What decimal number belongs in the blank, and how do you know? So for this one, I would say 300 times that number is going to be equal to 124. The relationship between 300 and 124 is less than a half of the 300, right? Half of 300 is 150, and I'm definitely less than that. So I know that the number, the decimal I'm putting in there, has to be less than 0.5. So it has to be less than half. So I'm going to take a shot at saying 0.4. So 300 times 0.4 is equal to 120. So that's very close, but it's not as precise. It doesn't give us the exact answer that we're looking for. Remember now that 20 divided by 4 is equal to 5. And similarly, we can say that 20 divided by 5 is equal to 4. So regardless of which number we're given, we can always find the other number. In this case, we've got the 124 and we've got the 300. We want to know the missing number. So we can change the order and say 124 divided by 300 is equal to the missing number that we're looking for. We can then go ahead and do that as a long division question. 124 divided by 300. Now this is unusual, of course, that we've got a smaller number here and a larger number here, but that just means that the answer we're going to get is a decimal. I'm going to add some decimals on there because I know we're going to need them, and I'm going to put my decimal up at the top. Obviously 300 can't go into 124, but it can go into 1,240. It's going to go in 4 times, so 4 times 300 is 1,200. Subtracting, 40 left, bring down another 0. 400, 300 into 400 goes once. Subtracting 400 minus 300 gives us 100. Bring down another 0. 3 times 300 is 900. 1,000 minus 900 is 100 again. And so now we're going to see that we keep getting repeating 3. So the answer we were looking for here was 0.413 with the 3 repeating. So to answer the original question, 124 divided by what is equal to 300? And the answer is 0.413, repeating. Looking at 500 divided by 0.6 is equal to some number. What number belongs in the blank, and how do you know? Well, let's start off with the long division method. 500 divided by 0.6. Since we don't want to deal with the decimal there, we're going to change it to 6 from 5,000. 6 into 50 is 8 times 6 is 48. 50 minus 48, 2. Bring down the next 0. 6 into 20, 3 6s are 18. Subtracting 2 remainder, bring down the 0 again. 6 into 20, another 3. 3 times 6, 18. Subtracting, of course, and now put in a decimal, more zeros, and we're going to keep going with repeating 333 again. Therefore, 500 divided by 0.6 is 833.33 repeating, or 833 1/3. We're asked to estimate 44 divided by 0.7. From our experience now, we've seen that that's the same as saying 440 divided by 7. To solve that, I want to turn it around and say, well, what number times 7 is going to give me 440? To solve that, I'm looking at these two numbers, 7 and 44. I remember that 7 times 6 is equal to 42, and 7 times 8 equal to 56. The number I'm looking for is in between, but it's certainly closer to 7.6. In this case, because I'm working with 440 and not just 42 or 420, what I want to look at then is saying, okay, 7 times 6 is equal to 42, so 7 times 60 is equal to 420. So 60 is a pretty good estimate for what 44 divided by 0.7 actually is. I might want to try and guess a little bit higher and say, well, maybe it's going to be 61 or 62, but I'd have to do a lot more mathematics to figure that out exactly. So I'm going to leave it as saying my estimate is 60. Let's look at the next one, 350 divided by 0.8. So that's the same as 3,500 divided by the whole number of 8. So now I'm asking what number times 8 will give me 3,500. I look to my 8 times table and I say 4 times 8 is 32, and 5 times 8 is 40. Well, the number I'm looking for is fairly close in the middle there. It's a little bit closer to the 4 times 8 than it is to the 5 times 8. So the number I'm looking for is going to be closer to 4 than 5. And in this case, remember we're looking for now 3,500, not just 35. So I need to add a couple zeros in here. So I'm going to estimate that 400 times 8, that gives me 3,200. So it's getting in the ballpark, but I can probably do a little bit better than that. I can conclude then that 400 is a reasonable estimate for 350 divided by 0.8. I'd probably actually go a little bit further to say the number I'm looking for is a little bit bigger than 400. And I might go one step further to say maybe it's around 420. If we wanted to check it now to see what the actual number was, we could take 3,500 and divide it by 8. 4 8s are 32. Subtracting gives us 3. Bring down the 0. 3 8s are 24. Subtract that, we get 6. Bring down another 0. 7 8s are 56 with 4 remainder. So my number is still a little bit low, but a pretty fair estimate. Which decimal belongs in the blank? 400 divided by something is close to 600. First thing I look at is, well, the starting number being divided by something ends up with a larger number. So if a smaller number is being divided by something and ends up with a larger result, we know that the number we're dividing by here has to be less than 1. So right away, I can stroke out C and D because they're both larger than 1. They're both going to give me a smaller result. If I think 400 divided by 0.2, I remember that that's the same as saying 4,000 divided by 2, which is equal to 2,000, which is a much larger number than what we're looking for. So through process of elimination, I've determined that 400 divided by 0.7 is going to be the number that's closest to 600. But if I wanted to go a little bit further just to be sure that I've got the result, I would then say that, well, 400 divided by 0.7 is the same as 4,000 divided by 7. Still not super easy math to do in my head, so I'm going to turn it around into a multiplication question and say 7 times what is equal to 4,000. Now I remember that 7 times 6 is 42, So 7 times 60 is 420. 7 times 600 would be 4,200, which meets the requirement of being close to 600. So 400 divided by 0.7 is close to 600. If you do it on your calculator, you'll come out to 571.42 in a long string of decimals. So it meets the requirement of being close.